didn't see you there, camera and lighting crew that inexplicably lives in my house. I was inspired by this week's Torah portion, where everybody got together and decided to build a giant tower so they could become world famous. Of course, the only building material I'm qualified to use are Legos, so I'm trying to build a giant tower into the heavens so that I can become world famous. I don't know how the story ends in the Parsha, but I'm hoping my story ends with me getting rich and famous, and possibly having an action figure made of me. これはとても難しいですけど、私は頭がいい。私は Messianic Torah dude. このパーシャは Noach. That was weird. Never spoke Spanish before. Noach, or Noah, comes to us from Genesis chapter 6, verse 9, through chapter 11, verse 32. And this week's Torah portion contains a lot of very interesting things, but the one I wanted to focus on was the origin of languages, the origin of all of the different ways that we speak. And we find that in Genesis chapter 11, verses 1 through 9. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as the people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do, and nothing they propose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. The interesting thing about this is it kind of helps to demonstrate the power of language. Language is something that can either unite or divide people. The people were united with a common language, and because of that, they could all communicate with each other and they could all work together. Now, the unity that the people had because of their common language was taken away when they lost their common language. Once they were no longer able to communicate with each other, everybody just kind of dispersed. Everybody kind of broke up into their own little language groups and went their separate ways. There's an interesting sort of inverse of this in Acts chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. When the day of Shavuot arrived, they were all together in one place, talking about the apostles. And suddenly there came from heaven a sound like a mighty rushing wind, and it filled the entire house where they were sitting. And divided tongues as of fire appeared to them and rested on each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. What's interesting about this passage in Acts is we see how the Lord enabling people to speak in all of these different languages suddenly makes it a unifying thing. As the story goes on, their ability to communicate in all of the different languages that are represented at that Shavuot or Pentecost celebration allows them to create and draw in a lot of people. In the same way the people were dispersed by their languages being confused, they were brought in by the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Spirit. But going back to the Tower of Babel, the thing that we see is their reasoning for doing it was pride. And the pride is what ultimately led to their languages being confused and everybody being divided and going their separate ways. And we can see that in our regular lives. Pride is often a first step to division. People's ego gets in the way so that people can't be unified. The division of language is overcome through unity in Yeshua. In Galatians chapter 3, verses 26 and through 28, it says, "For in Messiah Yeshua you are all sons of God through faith. For as many of you were baptized into Messiah, have put on Messiah. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is neither male or female. For you are all one in Messiah Yeshua." Divisions like race, economics, language disappear under the unifying power of Yeshua. Because Yeshua is greater than these things that divide us. Yeshua is more important than whatever separating thing, be it language, economics, class, race, Marvel or DC, whatever that dividing line is, Yeshua allows us to step over it. Because ultimately, pride creates division, and humility creates unity. Because humility makes us like Yeshua. In Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5, it tells us, "So if there is any encouragement in Messiah, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others as more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also the interests of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Messiah Yeshua." You see, as we humble ourselves and become more like Yeshua, more like Messiah, more like Christ, we are able to create stronger unity with each other. We're able to overcome these barriers like language. And when we go back to Genesis, we see in 11 verse 6 where it says, "And the Lord said, Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them." You see, when we're united in Yeshua, there is nothing that is impossible for us if we can humble ourselves in the same way that Yeshua humbled himself. In the same way that the people were unstoppable under one language, we are unstoppable when we're united in Messiah. We are unstoppable to do the good works that the Lord has prepared in advance for us to do collectively, as long as we maintain the unity that is found in Messiah. So what are some ways that we can keep unity in the body of Messiah, maybe even across denominational lines? Let me know in the comments, and if we gave you a laugh, give us a like, and if you learned something, give us a share. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because I'm on YouTube, and I'm required by law to say that apparently. Anyway, I'm the Messianic Torah dude. Shalom, and stay in the Word.